In the US, there is a massive effort to really take all of our attention and put it on one kind of weapon, on one kind of rifle specifically, that somehow America is going to be safer if we ban this one rifle. So I want to take a moment and address the sheer volume of deaths in America, including the homicides, and really take a look at how dangerous is this rifle, really? Because if you look at dates, if you look at homicides in 2022, and you look at all the weapons used and all the homicides in 2022, ultimately what you're looking at is you're looking at 17,830 homicides in the U.S. Now let's take a look at the weapons used in those particular homicides. Handguns being the vast majority, 7,936. Firearms. This would be things like shotguns, things that are not rifles or not handguns. 5,704. Knives and cutting instruments, 1,630. Personal weapons, hands, fists, and feet. We're looking at 665 homicides with just your hands, fists, and feet. And then right below it is rifles at 541. Now, this is the piece that I think we just let's take a look at this, okay? Because if there's 17,830 homicides in the U.S. in 2022 and 541 of them are done with rifles. And this isn't just that one kind of rifle. This is all rifles, whether you used a hunting rifle, regardless of what kind of rifle you used. There was 541 homicides out of 17,830. This is roughly 3% of homicides involve rifles. 3%. More so, fists and feet is 4%. So there's literally more risk of death in America from somebody kicking you or punching you than there is from a rifle. And all of our attention is going towards that. It's what the candidates talk about. It's what everybody's talking about. And it's somehow like we're going to be safer in America if we somehow ban this one type of rifle. And this is just rifles. If you put in the actual style of rifle, then I'm sure it's going to be significantly lower. But let's just assume all those are that kind of rifle. It's still just 3%. Now, I want to take a look at another shocking number, because there were 17,830 homicides in the U.S. in 2022, but there was 702,880 deaths from heart disease. And, I take this very personal because I almost died from heart disease last year. I came pretty close to it. And if you were to say, well, what's the problem, Mark? Like, why you? Because every time I went to the doctor's office, people were much larger than me and much older than me. And I honestly believe it's because I ate, I kind of tell a joke, or I used to tell a joke, that I started school in kindergarten and I just never left. I went on to college, and then I became a teacher, and then I became a principal, and I just never really left school. From kindergarten until just a few years ago, I spent Monday through Friday in a school. And from kindergarten on, and if you, growing up in poverty, school lunches were often the only food I got. And that kind of never changed. It changed. I had money, but I kind of was like, well, you can't turn down a free meal. So I ate the school lunches every single day. Like, literally, maybe not every day, but 97% of the time, from the time I was 5 years old and till the time I was in my 50s, I ate a school lunch for lunch every day. And I believe that we are poisoning our children in America, and I believe we are poisoning ourselves in America, These 702,000 deaths are not our fault. That's not your fault. That's not, if you're obese, if you're dealing with heart disease, this is not your fault. You are a product of your environment. You know, I was a product of my environment. This is the food I ate, the poisonous food that we feed our children. And yet, here we are homing in on these rifles. When you look at, if you just compare the rifles to heart disease, you're literally looking at 0.07% of deaths compared to heart disease are with a rifle. So wait a second, where is our priorities? We should be looking at our standards of food is where we should really be looking at. You know, our eyes are on the wrong thing, and it's really important that as Americans, we, you know, because I kind of noticed this too growing up, like, because my parents were really into politics and they'd always be watching the debates. And, you know, I remember seeing Mondale and Reagan debate. I remember seeing Clinton and Bush Sr. debate. Like, I remember watching these growing up and as a young man. And the thing is like, the issues at hand are always kind of what they choose for us, if that makes sense. Like, nobody's talking about heart disease. Nobody's talking about the quality of food in America. But yet, we have 702,880 people die from heart disease, and we have 541 die from a rifle. I mean, and this is where our attention is going. This is where the attention goes. And somehow we're going to, like, less people will die if we can just somehow get rid of that rifle. It's just, they're choosing what it is we should put our eyes on. Like, they're literally, here, look over here, everybody, look over here. And then we just do that. We just look, oh, look. And we just look over there. And we have since I was a kid. Like, I remember staring at it all the time growing up. We're going to look at what they tell us to look at. And if you're concerned about the health and safety of Americans, you're barking up the wrong tree with the rifles. You're barking up the wrong tree with the rifles, period. It doesn't even make any sense if you actually look at the numbers. It's almost like if we were to say, you know, because directly below rifles is blunt objects like hammers with 367 deaths. You know, it's almost like, could you imagine the politicians getting up on stage at rallies and talking about, we're going to ban hammers? It doesn't even make sense, but it makes the same amount of sense if you look at the numbers. I mean, literally, you know, less than 200 more people were killed with rifles than hammers. And literally more than 100 people were killed with their fists and feet and hands than were with rifles. And 702,880 people are killed with heart disease. You know, me being almost one of them, because I was fed the same food we're feeding our children for 45, 50 years. You know, this is something that we have to stop. I don't know how to stop it, like, because again, it's been going on since I was a kid, but at least if a few people can kind of open their eyes and go, well, wait a second. Why are we talking about rifles? Why are we talking about rifles? Why don't we talk about the quality of food in our schools? Why don't we talk about the quality of food in hospitals? Why don't we talk about the quality of food in restaurants? Why don't we talk about the quality of food in grocery stores? Like, why aren't we doing that? Like, because 702,880 versus 541, it makes me giggle just when I talk about it, because it's just so much nonsense. So, you know, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, but I think this is an important message, and I think it's important to get out. So any thoughts or insight, definitely put it below. Do want to take a moment and say most people watch the channel, not subscribers. Click that subscribe button. It greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests. So please don't ever, ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guts.